Today we'll take up a fresh chapter. It's called as transfer of ownership and delivery of goods. It's quite an interesting chapter. Till date, we have learned about various provisions related to Sale of Goods Act, the definitions involved in them, what is meant by a consideration. Then in the last previous chapter, we have discussed about condition and warranty. What is the difference between a condition and warranty? What results in breach of condition or breach of warranty? And the risk capacity. Where is the onus actually? We have learned about the specific term called as caveat emptor, that is buyer beware. Now we'll be talking about transfer of ownership. Here I'll be using the word property quite frequently in this particular chapter. Here I shall be discussing about transfer of ownership in a sale transaction. When do you think in a sale transaction the transfer of ownership happens? See, you go to a bookstore, you purchase a book, the ownership is transferred immediately once you pay the money. So, as per Sale of Goods Act, do we have any specific provisions? But mind you, do you think business is as simple? You go to a manufacturer, purchase, or you go to one particular manufacturer, purchase 50 kilos of oil. Sometimes the buyer might pay immediately, or sometimes the buyer might pay at a later stage. So, in that case, when will the ownership transfer? We say the sale had been made. In the previous chapter, we have learned, right? The very essence of the sale is delivery of the goods, not the price paid by the buyer. The buyer shall pay the price after, maybe depending upon the terms of the contract, after 3 months or after 45 days or so on. In such situation, when do you think the ownership of the goods is transferred? So, we'll be discussing about those cases in this particular chapter. As always, please mark those points which I am highlighting over here. And we'll also be getting another Latin term over here. The previous chapter, we have got one Latin term called as caveat emptor, which means buyer beware. Here you'll be having a rule which is called as nemo dat quod non habet. It's one of the most interesting rules which says no one can give what he has not got. You can't sell any fictitious property. Fictitious not in the sense what we have learnt in contingencies over there. Here it means the pure English meaning fictitious. It's not very much present and the exceptions involved in it. So first and foremost, we'll first know what this particular transaction of sales goes on. First and foremost, he says passing of property. Property here means ownership. Passing of ownership, then delivery of goods, then passing of risk, and that's how a sale transaction evolves. Do you think that is usually happens? See, mind you, here price is not the main consideration. In a sale transaction, as per the Sale of Goods Act, he says first the ownership is transferred, then the goods are delivered. That is the once a contract had been made. Then the risk involved is transferred to the buyer. So the risk also, the moment the ownership is transferred, the risk also is transferred to the buyer. That's what he has explained it in this particular sentence. The general rule is what? The general rule is that the risk prima facie passes with the property. Please underline this particular line. What do you mean by that? Here, whenever the ownership in goods have been transferred to the buyer, the risk also will be automatically transferred. This is called as, this is called as transfer of ownership, and definitely along with ownership, the risk also passes with the property. Please highlight this particular sentence. Right. Okay. What happens in case if goods are lost or damaged? Whom do you think who should bear the loss? Is it the seller or is it the buyer? Quite a tricky question. So what do you do? See, usually what the law says is the person who enjoys the risk and rewards with regard to that particular goods is eligible to bear that loss. That is in case if the ownership is not transferred. If the ownership is transferred, then automatically buyer becomes responsible. In case if the loss was due to the third party, then whosoever is the owner of the goods, then he is eligible for filing a case against the third party. Let's say, let me explain this to you with the help of an example. A and B. A is the seller, B is the buyer. A sold, say, 50 cars to B. Yeah. B is a dealer in cars. So now B said that he is going to, I mean to say, he is going to give the consideration after 45 days. Fine. So as per the contract, the moment the cars enter the B's godown, B becomes the owner. Okay, here mind you, even the price is being paid after 45 days. B becomes the owner immediately because of this particular sale contract. Now let's say in transit, when the A is sending these cars from his godown to B's godown, let's say because of an accident, all cars got damaged. In such situation, who should bear the loss? Usually A. Why? Because the ownership had not been transferred yet to B. Now let us see another scenario. See now what happens now. The as per the contract, it says once goods go out of A's godown, it automatically becomes the property of B. Okay. So now repeating the same case, now the A's goods have been sent out and they met with an accident. Now who will bear the loss? B will bear the loss. Why? Because the ownership rights have been transferred to B. And with regard to passing of ownership rights, that is passing of property, had been clearly explained in sections 18 to 26. Passing or transfer of property constitutes the most important element and factor to decide the legal rights and liabilities of sellers and buyers. Yes, so it's definitely one of the most important things. A sale, even though the essence of sale is delivery of goods, the delivery of goods is essential to understand whether the ownership had been transferred from the seller to buyer. So we'll be talking about transfer of ownership in various kinds of goods. See, the previous chapters we have learned about various kinds of goods, like specific goods, specific goods, existing goods. Under the head existing goods, you have got specific or specific goods, ascertain goods, unascertain goods. Yeah. So in such situation, how do you understand whether a property had been transferred from the seller to buyer? Property here again I repeat means the ownership. So when do you ascertain that? So let's go to the case studies. Usually in case of specific or ascertain goods, see a person has come, he is selling one, let's say a particular property, let's say a Whirlpool washing machine. So when do you think the ownership of Whirlpool washing machine is being transferred to the buyer? It is transferred when when there is a contract for sale, it is considered to be transferred. That is, the ownership is considered to be transferred to the buyer when the parties to contract intended to get transferred. What do you mean by that? As simple as that. It depends upon the decision of the parties. If the Whirlpool washing machine like sellers tells you that I'll give all the rights of property to you once you pay the price, then it is paid. Or in case of in case of buyer also approves to, then the rights shall be transferred to the buyer only after the price had been paid. Or in case of Whirlpool washing machine seller, if he says that the moment the washing machine is delivered to your house, the rights are transferred, right of ownership is transferred, then it is transferred in such a manner. In both the cases, the buyer has to accept for that. So please underline these points. When there is a contract for sale of specific or ascertain goods, the property in them is transferred. The property in them is transferred at such time as the, or you can underline the whole thing, to the buyer at such time as the parties to contract intend it to be transferred. As the parties to the contract intend it to be transferred, then only it is transferred. Otherwise, it is still said that it has not been transferred. For the purpose of ascertaining the intention of parties regard money important shall be given to the terms of the contract, the conduct of the parties and circumstances of the case. Definitely. Unless and until a different intention means other than the intention of the borrowers, if it depends upon the intention of a third party as well, then the rules contained in section 20 to 24 are the rules for ascertaining the intention of the parties. Why did he repeat this particular term, intention? Intention is important because here in case of specific goods, the ownership is transferred only based on the terms agreed upon by or intentions agreed upon by the seller and buyer. Okay. So, in such situation, what he has said is, other than seller and buyer, in case if others are also involved or if any other circumstance is also involved, then the rules contained in sections 20 to 24 should be used for ascertaining the intention of the parties at which the goods have been passed to the buyer. So, what are the stages of goods while passing of property or passing of ownership? First and foremost, he has been said that specific here, these 3 points will be learning with the help of an example. Specific goods in a deliverable state. Yeah, where is it? Gone down. Yep. I'll go up first. Yeah, specific goods in a deliverable stage. There are specific goods to be put into a deliverable stage, and specific goods in a deliverable state when seller has to ascertain the price. See, the in the previous session we have known what is deliverable. As per the contract agreed, what as to how the goods should be delivered to the buyer is called as deliverable state. So, in case of specific goods which are already there in a deliverable state, when do you think the ownership had been transferred from seller to buyer? Let's take an example. X goes into a shop and buys a television and asks the shopkeeper for its home delivery. A shopkeeper agrees to do it. The television immediately becomes the property of X. So, what do you understand from here? What do you understand from this particular example? Usually, here the moment, the moment the property, the ownership in the goods is transferred to the buyer when the contract is made, then it is understood that the ownership had been transferred, whether price had been paid or not. Sometimes it can be paid or sometimes it need not be paid. The same example I have explained it to you with regard to an washing machine. Here he has explained it with the help of a television set. X goes into a shop and buys a television and asks the shopkeeper for its home delivery. The shopkeeper agrees to do it. So here he hasn't mentioned whether any particular price had been paid or what are the terms of payment of the price. The moment he buys a television, it has become the property of X and X will enjoy all the rewards on that property, and at the same time, in case if there are any risks involved in the property, then obviously X has to bear it. So I'll ask you to underline this particular point, the one which I'm highlighting right now. The property in goods passes to the buyer when the contract is made, and it is immaterial whether the time of payment of the price or the time of delivery of the goods or both is postponed. Okay, the time of the payment, the property in the goods passes to the buyer when the contract is made, and it is immaterial when the time of payment of price or time of delivery of goods or both is postponed. So in such situation, what do you assume? Like in case of specific goods, the moment the contract is made, all the risks and rewards have to be borne by the buyer himself. That is, these specific goods are very much in a deliverable state. Just like purchase of TV from the showroom and just putting that TV in the home is called as deliverable state. Then we'll come across another situation wherein the specific goods have to be put in deliverable state. Let's take an LED television for example, like LCD or LED, or let's say home theater. Home theater, again for installation, the buyer has to pay certain amount of money. Like the moment he makes a contract with the seller, it doesn't mean the whole contract is done. The good has to be put in a deliverable condition. Like the seller has to come and install that particular home theater system in the buyer's property or buyer's house or so and so. Only after the buyer puts the home theater system properly in the house of only after the seller puts the home theater system properly in the house of the buyer, then only we can say that the ownership had been transferred from seller to buyer. Like in case if it is a regular television wherein you don't have to do much about it, you just take it, carry it home and plug into it, then in case of such goods, we say that the property had been transferred to the buyer immediately when the contract had been paid. Whether the amount of money is paid or not is immaterial. But in case of a contract for sale of specific goods that are yet to be in deliverable state, then the seller is bound to do something to the goods for the purpose of putting them into deliverable state. The ownership does not pass until that particular good is done, and the buyer also knows that the good is now completely installed. Example, home theater system. Simple as that. See, in case of a good is ready for delivery, it's proper. Immediately, the moment the contract of sale is made, then the good is bought. But in case of goods wherein they are supposed to be put in deliverable state, then automatically the seller is bound to do something. That is, he has to work on those goods and see to it that the goods are in a proper deliverable state. Then only we can say that the property or the ownership in goods have been transferred. Yeah. So this is with regard to specific goods to be put in deliverable state. The next point is with regard to specific goods which are in deliverable state, but the seller has to do something or anything in order to ascertain the price. What do you mean by that? See, usually the seller, you can take this example especially with regard to vegetables rather than the example given here in study material. I'd say you can take this example especially for case of sale of vegetables. See, usually the seller definitely has to weigh, like the buyer says, I want 1 kilo of tomatoes. So these tomatoes, the seller has to weigh them first. First, he has to ascertain what is that 1 kilo rupees. Then only once he gives it to the buyer, we say the ownership is transferred. In case if the buyer says 1 kilo and seller just pulls out some bunch of tomatoes and just gives it to the buyer, then that does not say that the ownership had been transferred. Let's say a seller has to do some additional thing, like it can be either to weigh, measure, test, or do some other act with regard to the goods for purpose of ascertaining the price. Then we say that the ownership is transferred only when this particular seller had completed that. What, like the weighing or measuring those goods and then ascertaining the price and then delivering it to the buyer. Then we say that the ownership had been transferred. In case if the seller had not measured it or weighed it and had just given it to the buyer, then it does not amount to transfer in ownership. So in this case, please underline this particular point where there is a contract where there is a contract for the sale of specific goods in a deliverable state, but the seller is bound to weigh, measure, test, or do some other act or thing with reference to the goods for purpose of ascertaining the price. The property does not pass until such act or thing is done and the buyer has noticed it. Okay, so he has, sorry, please underline this whole para. And regarding the example, you can just go through it. That is, here he has explained that certain carpets have been sold to a company which have to be laid. So this seller goes and keeps those carpets in the premises of the company, but he does not lay them in the company's office. So when he had kept those carpets have been stolen. So now, whose risk? Do you think the buyer has to pay the risk or the seller? Here they have said the seller has to pay the risk because he had agreed to lay the carpets. But the carpets have been stolen even before the seller had laid them. So definitely the seller himself must bear the risk. Now let's talk about goods, whether they should be ascertained, in what way the goods have to be ascertained. Okay, we have talked about the stages of goods while passing the property. These are the different stages of goods while passing the ownership. In case of specific goods, it is passed immediately. In case of specific goods which are to be put in deliverable stage, once they have been put in deliverable stage, then the ownership transfers. In case of specific goods which are in which some additional work is to be done before transferring the property, then the property in goods is said to be transferred once that additional work, either it can be measuring or weighing the goods. This is what we have learned about specific or ascertained goods. When do you think it passes and what are the three different kinds of goods? Next, we'll be talking about when the good is being transferred in a sale, definitely they should be ascertained. Okay, then you might have a doubt. What about the unascertained goods? We'll be coming to that as well. See, usually when there is a contract for sale of unascertained goods, the ownership in the goods is transferred to the buyer um, unless and until the goods are ascertained. What do you mean by that? First, let us know what are unascertained goods. Unascertained goods are something like you go to a supermarket, there are in a specific rack you have certain salt packets, you pick up one salt packet. So that is an unascertained good. It's just out of probability, out of some 50 to 60 salt packets, you've picked up one salt packet. That is unascertained. Okay. So when do you say that the property in this unascertained goods have been transferred from the seller to the buyer? He says that the property is considered to be transferred from the seller to the buyer only when the goods have been ascertained. What do you mean by ascertained? You picking up from one salt packet from all those salt packets is called as ascertaining the property in goods. So, what are the rules in passing of ownership of unascertained goods? First and foremost, the available description. Let's say you want to purchase Tata salt. Tata salt packets, some 20 to 30, are lying in the supermarket. So, you pick up one. So, now this particular packet becomes ascertained. So, in case of true merchandise sense, it says that goods have been given delivery to the carrier. Carrier means the transporter for transit. In such case, the goods become ascertained. Now let us talk about sale of unascertained goods by description. See, you say I want to purchase, continuing with the existing example itself. When do you think, like a Tata salt packet, when do you think an ownership had been transferred from the seller to the buyer? He says either the ownership shall be transferred within the intention, either the assent of the seller with that of a buyer or by the buyer with the assent of the seller. Uh, assent means agreeing to transfer the ownership in the goods. Here, just like what we have learned about, the ownership of goods is transferred with prior intentions of the parties to transfer. What do you mean by that? The seller, in case if he wants to sell a particular good to the buyer, he has selected one particular salt packet from the lot and had given to the buyer, and the buyer agrees with, then obviously that happens in a small kirana shop or a ration shop. The moment you go and say, sir, can you please give me a salt packet, the seller goes into those rack and gives you the salt packet. Then what do you say? You pay the money, you agree for it. Then we say the ownership had been transferred. Or sometimes in supermarkets, you yourself go to the salt rack and pick up one packet. Then what do you say? Then there also the ownership had been transferred. So, sale of unascertained goods by description, what is required? Here, the seller with the assent of the buyer or buyer with the assent of the seller, the ownership in the goods is transferred to the buyer. This assent means it can be either implied or express. Express means clearly stated. You go to a kirana shop, you say, I want 1 kilo of salt packet. That is an express way of revealing that the buyer wanted a salt packet. The same buyer, he goes to the supermarket, picks up one salt packet from the rack. That is an implied version. The seller knows this person wants to buy salt packet. So at the end of the day, what do you mean that uh, when does the property or when does the ownership transfer in case of sale of unascertained goods by description? Either by the assent of the seller or by that of a buyer. The assent can be either express or implied. So here please underline this particular whole paragraph, it's important. Where there is a contract for the sale of unascertained or future goods by description and the goods of that description are in a deliverable state, are unconditionally appropriated to the contract either by the seller or with the assent of the buyer or by the buyer with the assent of seller. The property in the goods thereupon means the goods whatever are being in consideration passes to the buyer. That assent can be either what express or implied. This is with regard to sale of unascertained goods by description. Then comes delivery to the carrier. Carrier here means a transport agent. See, sometimes goods have to be transferred from one place to another. Let's say spices from Kerala have to be transferred to Telangana. So obviously from Kerala, they have to take the help of rail, road or airways. So here who is the carrier? Let's say some spices from Kerala are being transferred through an air cargo. Yeah, aeroplanes also transfer cargo. So in that case, when do you think the ownership had been transferred from the seller, ownership of the goods have been transferred from the seller to the buyer? So when do you think? Usually when the seller, yeah, he takes the goods to the carrier uh, for the purpose of transmission to the buyer, and he does not reserve the right of disposal. He is deemed to have unconditionally appropriated the goods to the contract. What do you mean by this specific term does not reserve the right of disposal? That means now the seller cannot sell these goods particularly to another party. Let's say airport. Right now, he has sent certain spices from Kerala to Telangana. Now, what happens the moment the spices land in Hyderabad? Now, the seller cannot sell these spices again to another party. Yeah, it has been sold to some XYZ party of Hyderabad. So, once the seller had made that particular or he had overcome or he had left his right of disposal, then the seller is deemed to have unconditionally appropriated the goods. Appropriated here means what? He has sold, he has transferred the property of goods to the contract. The moment The moment here, please be very clear, the moment the seller uploads the cargo in a flight or in an aeroplane, yeah, for the purpose of transmission to XYZ party, and moreover, he does not want to resell the goods. That's why I have made you underline this particular point. Does not reserve the right of disposal. Then he is deemed to have unconditionally appropriated the goods to the contract. Here he has given one particular example. A bill of lading of a railway parcel is made out in the name of the buyer and is sent to him. Bill of lading, as I explained you, it means what? A receipt issued by the owner of the ship or the captain of the ship, mentioning about all the cargo which had been loaded in the ship. A bill of lading of railway parcel is made here. It can happen to railways as well. Here it is issued by the railway authorities. A bill of lading of railway parcel is made out in the name of the buyer and is sent to him. The ownership in the goods definitely passes from the seller to the buyer. So hope you're clear with this. Then we'll talk about appropriation, sale of goods and sale of unascertained goods and appropriation. What do you mean by these appropriation? Appropriation means selection of the goods out of a particular lot. You select the goods. Like for example, let's continue with those salt packets only. Salt packets, let's say you're purchasing all the salt packets which have been manufactured in the current month, let's say July itself. That is called as appropriation. Unascertained goods and appropriated. See, there are 20 salt packets in a supermarket. Now what you do, you go there and you purchase only those salt packets which belong to the month of, let's say, July. That is called as appropriation. You say carefully pick up certain packets and keep it aside. Even though there is a confusion saying that specific mention goods, here the difference is you have many of the packets which pertain to the wherein the date of manufacture pertains to July itself. So that is called as appropriation. All the packets that have been manufactured in the month of July, you take them and you keep them in your packet. Or let's say 5 packets of the salt packets which have been manufactured in the month of July, and then with the mutual consent of seller and buyer, you agree to purchase them. So let's see the definition. Appropriation of goods involve selection of goods with the intention of using them in performance of the contract and with the mutual consent of the seller and buyer. That means what? You select those packets and you are going to purchase them once when the seller sells it to them. That is nothing but mutual consent of seller and buyer. So out of this particular section 23, what are the essential? Definitely there should be a contract of sale and the goods should conform to the description and quality stated in the contract. Please underline all these points, they're important. What are the essentials, especially with regard to transfer of ownership in unascertained and appropriated goods? So what are the essentials? There should be a contract for sale of unascertained or future goods. The goods should conform to the description and quality stated in the contract. The goods must be in a deliverable state, and moreover the goods must be unconditionally appropriated to the contract either by delivery to the buyer or his agent or the transporter. Here he means carrier. The goods must be unconditionally appropriated. Taking the same example, when I say I'm picking up the packets which have been manufactured in July, I can pick up any packet out of, let's say, 8 salt packets are there. So I can pick up any packet pertaining to July from any packet that had been manufactured in the month of July. It can be any packet. So I call it as unconditionally appropriated to the contract, and these goods should be transmitted to the buyer or his agent or through the transporter. So how will the appropriation be made? It can be made directly by the seller himself with the assent of the buyer, or the buyer with the assent of the seller. And as I told you, the assent can be express or implied. It might be clearly stated, or it can be by way of any actions, like the way a person is depicting a particular action. Based on it, you imply that he wants certain appropriation of goods which need to be transferred. So the assent usually can be given before or after the contract. See, all these 7 points are quite important. Please mark them. Please highlight them. This is with regard to transfer of ownership. Transfer of ownership in case of unascertained and appropriated goods. So when does this particular transfer of ownership happen? Yeah, it happens with the mutual consent of the seller and the buyer. But here, what is the difference between the mutual consent or the intention to transfer the ownership from seller to buyer? We have been discussing right from the beginning. But here, the major point is the goods are to be appropriated, and this appropriation can either be made uh, before or after giving an assent, which has been mentioned in the last point. Then we'll talk about goods sent on approval, sale or written basis. What do you mean by sale or written basis? Sale or written basis is something wherein the seller sells certain goods to the buyer. Okay. So he says only if you are satisfied with the good you can pay it or you can return it. In such situations, how do you think the ownership is transferred? There are three such circumstances. First circumstance is simple. The moment the goods reach the buyer is satisfied with the goods and he tells the seller saying that yes, I have accepted these goods, or he does any act saying that yes, I am ready to, or I have purchased the goods. Let's say now this person happens to be a silent person. He does not signify his approval or acceptance to the seller. But what he does, he keeps the goods with himself. He does not say anything. And in case if a time had been fixed by the seller to return the goods, the time had elapsed. He keeps the goods with him and he does not say anything. Then in such situations also we accept that the ownership had been transferred to the buyer on expiration of such time, and in case of no particular time had been fixed, then on expiration of a reasonable time it is assumed that the goods have been, that is the ownership of goods in case of sale or return basis, have been transferred to the buyer. Or in case, let's say the buyer, now the goods have been sent to the buyer based on sale or return basis. Now the buyer had done something to the good which is equivalent as to accepting the goods. Like what? Now he had taken the goods on delivery, he had not returned the goods, but he had pledged these goods with somebody else. Who can pledge the goods? Only when a person is an owner, then only he can pledge the goods. So in such situation, we assume that the goods have been bought by the buyer on in this particular sale or return basis. So what are the three aspects wherein we assume that the goods have been delivered to the buyer on sale or return basis? When do you think the ownership had been transferred? The buyer does not, or the buyer very clearly or expressly clearly states that he has accepted the goods, or he has done such an act which says that he has accepted the goods. Let's say the buyer does not signify his approval or acceptance to the seller and has retained the goods over and above the time limit, or let's say over and above a reasonable time. Then in such case also we assume that the ownership had been transferred to the buyer, and he does certain things to the good which is equivalent to accepting the goods, like pledging the goods or selling the goods and so on. This is with regard to sale or return. Because the examples are quite simple, I want you to go through all these examples so that it will be easier for you to understand. Then there are certain sales wherein the goods are sold only for cash, otherwise the goods have to be returned. Usually, in case of sale or return on the terms that uh, that a cash is to be paid for their delivery. Yeah, in such case, yeah, say in such case, the ownership does not pass to the buyer unless and until the cash is paid. Let's say credit, like that's what I tell you, na? Like you go to a shop, purchase a book. There, usually in retail shops, nobody gives a credit. Only the ownership is transferred only when the price is paid. This is specifically for sale for cash only or return. Let's take an example. A has delivered his jewelry to B on sale for cash only or return basis. It was clearly provided in the contract that the jewelry shall remain A's property until the price is paid. Before the payment of price, B pledged the jewelry with C. Can he do that? No. It was held that at the time of the pledge, the ownership was not transferred to B. Hence, the pledge was not valid and A could recover the jewelry from. That is, in case of the goods, if, as per the terms of sale contract, if the price of the goods have to be paid immediately in cash, the ownership to the buyer shall be transferred only when the price have been paid in cash. Then comes reservation of right of disposal. What do you mean by reservation for right of disposal? Disposal here means sale of, yeah. So reservation with regard to right of disposal means, let's say a seller had sold a particular good to the buyer, but now what he says, he tells the buyer that, oh, unless and until certain conditions are fulfilled, yeah, the ownership in the goods does not pass to the buyer. Okay, the seller puts certain conditions. Unless and until those conditions are fulfilled, then these goods cannot be transferred to the buyer. That is, the seller has put with him, or he is still entitled to right of disposal. He had given certain conditions. Only when those conditions are fulfilled, it is assumed that the goods have been sold to the buyer. The buyer has to fulfill those conditions. Please underline this. Notwithstanding the delivery of the goods to a buyer or to a carrier or to the bailee for the purpose of transmission to the buyer, the property here, ownership in the goods, does not pass to the buyer until the conditions imposed by the seller are fulfilled. Yeah, they have to be the conditions have to be fulfilled. Then only it is transferred. Like what you might get a doubt. See, in case of goods, where goods are shipped or delivered to a railway administration for carriage by railway, and the and by the bill of lading or railway receipts, as the case may be, the goods are deliverable to the order of the seller or his agent. The seller is prima facie deemed to reserve the right of disposal. What do you mean by that? Yeah. See, I told you, see, even bill of lading can be is considered as title to goods. Now, the seller is sending goods to the buyer through a railway. A bill of lading had been issued. Yeah. So now we say, as per the previous sections, we have seen that the goods are automatically transferred once I mean to say, the ownership is automatically transferred once the goods have been put into that railway railway cargo. But here, in case of reserving the right of disposal, the goods are deliverable to the order of the seller or his agent. Here, the seller says only either they are deliverable, that is, only the seller is going to give orders with regard to its delivery. Yeah. the seller is deemed to reserve the right of disposal. Here, the railway person cannot deliver the goods to the buyer. What happens? The seller, the seller's agent, once the goods reach the destination, the seller's agent takes the delivery of the same, and only on the order of the seller he is going to sell those goods to the buyer. Similarly, where the seller of goods draws on the buyer for the price and transmits to the buyer the bill of exchange together with the bill of lading, or as the case may be, to secure acceptance or payment of bill of exchange, the buyer is bound to return the bill of lading or the railway receipt if he does not honor the bill of exchange, and if he wrongfully retains the bill of lading or the railway receipt, the property in the goods still does not pass to him. What do you mean by that? See, here, bill of exchange means it's nothing but a small, see, definitely it is, you'll be learning about it in Negotiable Instruments Act. Bill of exchange is an order to pay a certain amount to any person. It can be anything. Okay. Okay. Here, what happens? Here, when the seller of goods draws a bill of exchange, what do you mean by bill of exchange? It is nothing but it is a document which is given by the seller. He orders the buyer. Please understand carefully, otherwise it becomes confusing. He orders the buyer to remit certain price. It is an order requiring the buyer to make certain payment to the signatory. I mean to say whom, it can be seller or his agent. Then only he can assume that the property or the ownership in goods have been transferred. In case if the seller draws a bill of exchange on the buyer, instead of just going through this line, you can simply state, instead of saying where the seller of goods draw on the buyer for the price and transmits to the buyer the bill of exchange, here you say that the moment the seller draws a bill of exchange. Bill of exchange means, please remember, it is a written document or given by the seller ordering the buyer to pay certain amount along with the bill of lading to secure acceptance or payment of bill of exchange. Then what should the buyer do? The buyer is supposed to return this bill of lading and then honor the bill of exchange, that is make a payment on the goods. Like, he is sending the bill along with, in simple terms, he is sending the bill along with the railway receipt. The buyer has to first pay the amount mentioned in the bill, and then only he can take delivery of goods. Otherwise, the buyer has to he has to return both bill of exchange as well as the railway receipt to the seller. This particular point with regard to analysis, I want you to go through it carefully. Yeah. Only when the seller has stipulated certain conditions, then only if the buyer fulfills those conditions, then only we assume that the property in goods have been transferred to the buyer. Here, for example, he says X sends furniture to a company by a truck and instructs the driver not to deliver the furniture to the company until the payment is made by the company to him. So the ownership passes only when the payment is made. Simple as that. Now, circumstances, or what are the usual circumstances under which this right to disposal may be reserved? So, what are the circumstances? In case of goods are shipped, either it can be a railway administration or a road transporter by bill of lading. The goods are deliverable to the order of the seller or his agent. What do you mean by that? Here, while writing bill of lading, I have explained to you for last two chapters. Bill of lading is usually issued by, in this particular case, railway authorities. Here, when the seller is sending certain goods to the buyer, when he clearly states in that bill of lading, saying that the goods will be deliverable only on the order of seller, then the cargo, the person who is delivering the cargo cannot deliver to the buyer, even though the certain details with regard to place is given in that particular receipt, he can nevertheless deliver the goods to the buyer. He should act only on the order of the seller. Please understand, if anything, like if it is mentioned in the bill of lading or a railway receipt saying that the goods are deliverable to the order of the seller, then the seller will be prima facie deemed to have reserved the right of disposal. That means what? The seller has every right, yeah, the seller has every right to stop the delivery of goods as well. Or the the buyer cannot take a delivery of goods from the railway authorities. The railway authorities have to be retain the goods with them till further instructions come forth from the seller. Obviously, the railway authorities will charge certain amount for maintenance. They become the bailies then. Then comes in case if the seller draws a bill on the buyer for the price and sends to him the bill of exchange together with the bill of lading. To secure acceptance or payment of it, the buyer must retain the bill of lading if he does not pay the bill. Similar. As I told you, bill of exchange means what? Bill means what? Now, a invoice. Now the seller has sent the goods along with these bills. In case if the buyer does not pay the bill, then obviously he has to return the goods back to the seller, or along with the goods he has to send this bill of document back to the back to the seller. That is, the buyer is not purchasing the goods anymore. This is a very frequent right, that is right to disposal. Reserving the right to disposal means the seller has an ultimate authority. Nowadays, most of the sales are made in this manner, wherein the seller decides as to when the goods have to be delivered, especially only after fulfilling certain conditions. It can be either by payment of a particular price. Then the other point, definitely risk prima facie. Let me explain what is the meaning of prima facie. Prima facie means first impression, first encounter, or first sight. The moment you see it, please understand, prima facie means the first encounter or first sight. So usually, unless otherwise agreed, the goods remain at the seller's risk until the property has been, or the ownership in the goods have been transferred to the buyer. But in case of the ownership is transferred to the buyer, then obviously the risk lies with the buyer. Okay, till there it is fine. As long as the ownership is not transferred, the risk is with the seller, and once the ownership is transferred, the risk is with the buyer. Let's say now the delivery has been delayed because of the fault of either buyer or seller. Then where will the risk go through? Who should bear the risk? Then the party at fault should bear the risk, not the other party. Please underline this particular point. In case if the delivery had been delayed either through the fault of either buyer or seller, the goods are at the risk of the party in default as regards any loss which might not have occurred but for such fault. Okay. So, as per section 26, the moment ownership transfers, definitely the risk also gets transferred. So, again, in case if the delivery had been delayed, whosoever party is in default, based on that, the defaulted party has to bear the risk. Usually, whatever has been mentioned in this section usually does not affect the duties or liabilities of either seller or buyer as bailey of the goods of other party. What do you mean? Once the ownership is transferred, even though the goods are in delivery, one party becomes the bailey of another party. What do you mean by that? See, usually, let's say in case of reserving the right of disposal, let's say a seller had sold certain goods to buyer. Let's say A had sold goods to B. A had drawn a bill, money he had sent the bill, that is the price, to B. And he says that unless and until you pay me this money, I'm not going to leave my right on those goods. So B, he says, okay, fine, I'll pay them after 1 day. So what should B do? He should take the delivery of the goods and uh, and make a safe keep of those goods. Money he has to keep them safely in a go down. Now, even though he's not a purchaser, he's not a buyer, he becomes a bailee. He keeps a safe keep. Once after 1 day, if he pays the money to Mr. A, then he can take the delivery of these goods. So this 1 day, B has to carefully take care of the goods just like bailee. The provisions of the bailee apply over here. So in this case, like when they say that the risk has been passed to the buyer, it does not imply that the buyer should now, because the whole risk is with that of a seller in this case, B should not say, I'll not take care of the goods. The duties or liabilities of both seller or buyer as a bailee of the goods of the other party shall apply. That's what this particular provision tells you. I'll stop this topic over here. Yeah, please underline this and then I shall stop this topic over here. We shall be discussing about the remaining part of the lesson in the next session. Thank you. In case of any doubts, please let me know. Thank you all.